Dude, I found the second half of the Carl Sagan video that we were watching the other day. I'm so excited. Let's continue.
Connected by lines, and now the real.
We'll continue from here. Yeah.
Tesseract in 4 dimensions would have all the lines of equal length and all the angles right at.
I just need to say it again. I love Carl Sagan so much. I know so little about him and love every little bit that I know.
Angles. That's not what we see here, but that's the penalty of projection. So you see, while we cannot imagine the world of 4 dimensions, we can certainly think about it perfectly well.
This is where we got to in the last one.
Imagine a universe just like Flatland, truly 2-dimensional, and entirely flat in every direction, but with one exception. Unbeknownst to the inhabitants, their 2-dimensional universe is curved into a 3rd physical dimension, maybe into a sphere.
I don't need to imagine this. We have people on this planet that are like this already. We call them flat earthers, who believe they're on a 2-dimensional plane, but actually the plane we live on is
2-dimensional universe is curved.
Is curved.
Into a 3rd physical dimension, maybe into a sphere, but at any rate, into something entirely outside their experience.
Look at these graphics!
Locally, their universe still looks flat enough, but if one of them, much smaller and flatter than me, takes a very long walk along what seems to be a straight line, he would uncover a great mystery. Suppose he marked his starting point here and set off to explore his universe. He never turns around and he never reaches an edge. He doesn't know that his apparently flat universe is actually curved into an enormous sphere. He doesn't sense that he's walking around a globe. Why should his space be curved? Because there's so much matter in this universe that it gravitationally warps space, closing it back on itself into a sphere. But our Flatlander doesn't know this. After a long while, you'll find he somehow returns to his starting point. There must be a 3rd dimension. Our Flatlander couldn't imagine a...
So if that's how you determine that there's a 3rd dimension, right? That if you don't get to the edge of the world, and if you walk in one direction, it never stops, then that would mean it's a 2-dimensional world. But if you were to walk in a straight line and then come back to where you started, then that means there must be a plane of existence that you are not aware of, because you have walked in a straight line and come back upon yourself. So that's how you determine whether or not there's another dimension that you're not aware of. Because if it was 2-dimensional, it's not going to be infinitely 2-dimensional, because nothing is infinite. You'd have to have an understanding of that first, right? So you start with the understanding that nothing is infinite. And you go, okay, well, I'm going to walk in a straight line. If I somehow end up back where I am right now, there is a dimension that I'm not aware of because I've walked in a straight line and come back to where I am. If there's an edge of the universe or an edge of the world, so is that how we would determine, right, so I get it. So is that how we would determine what shape the universe we're in is? Well, we already know that there's an edge of the universe and that the universe is constantly expanding and one day it will start contracting. So we know that our understanding of the universe is within the 3rd dimension, that there is an end to it. And it's expanding in all directions, which is how we know it's not a flat universe. So what is the test? That seems like such a simple test to do, to figure out whether or not there's a 3rd dimension if you're a 2-dimensional being. What do you do to figure out if there's a 4th dimension? Like, if it's that easy as a 2-dimensional being, now I'm sure that I understand that those tests have already been done probably to figure out if there's a 4th and a 5th and a blah blah, right? Well, I guess we're talking fifth. No, we're talking fourth dimension right now, not fifth. It says fifth dimensional beings, but I think it's fourth. I'm getting confused between the terminologies here. But what's the test you do to figure out whether or not there's a fourth or fifth dimension? Because it seems real easy as 2-dimension. 2 dimensions is go in a straight line. If you come back to where you were, there's a third. Would it involve time? But then how would there's no way it's that easy to figure it out as a 2-dimensional being, but it's not easy to figure it out as a 3-dimensional being, right? Or not 3-dimensional being, a being that experiences the universe around them in the 3rd dimension, I think is a better way, it's the correct way of putting it. Because technically, if we went through a wormhole, wouldn't that make us... No, because we're not beings that exist within the 5th dimension. I mean, we'd be able to utilize the 4th and 5th dimension were we to be able to use wormholes or teleportation to get from one point to another. Teleportation that doesn't involve breaking down of matter and rebuilding it, because that's completely different. In fact, I'd argue that's death and reconstruction. Because teleportation, dude, I love this stuff so much, it gets my brain going.
3rd dimension, but he could sure deduce it. Now, increase all the dimensions in this story by 1, and you have something like the situation.
Please answer my question, Carl. I love you so much. Please, Mr. Sagan, please!
Which many cosmologists think may actually apply to us. We are 3-dimensional creatures trapped in 3 dimensions. We imagine our universe to be flat in 3 dimensions, but maybe it's curved into a 4th. We can talk about a 4th physical dimension, but we can't experience it. No one can point to the 4th dimension. I mean, there's left, right, and there's forward, back, there's up, down, and there's some other directions simultaneously at right angles to those familiar 3 dimensions.
I am so sad right now. I want more of this. This is so unbelievably interesting to me. Like, the idea of, like, here's the thing that's real crazy, right? I can't remember what movie it was. Was it? Oh, it was the Midnight Special, right? There was a movie called Midnight Special, and in that movie, I'm gonna spoil the whole movie, but I want to tell you, the movie's garbage. So, don't, in fact, what did it get? What did it get? Midnight Special, 2016 film. It got, there's no way it got, yeah, there we go, 67% from reviewers, and on IMDb it's got a 6.6, okay? So I am spoiling nothing for you. This is one of the most mediocre movies I've ever seen, right? In this movie, basically, there's this kid here who's like seeing shit that no one else can see, and at the end of the movie, it turns out that what he's seeing is heaven. And heaven is actually built on Earth, but we can't see it. So like all the buildings, in fact, can I find it? I remember being so pissed off at the end of the movie. Midnight Special ending. Can we find this? Yeah, this dude. I was so unbelievably mad at the end of this. So it's the end of the movie, and this is what happens. So it turns out the things this kid had been seeing, this is like heaven. This is literally heaven, and it's all built on Earth, and we just can't see it. But this kid can, because I think the kid was supposed to be the second coming of Jesus or something, and then there's some kind of weird explosion, and then all of Earth can see heaven within this bubble, you know, and this is supposed to be like, you know, this, I think it was supposed to be like the second miracle, you know, so that we could see, and it's like, whoa, look at the future, this is heaven, built on Earth. At least that was my understanding of it. I don't think, it wasn't aliens, it was supposed to be heaven. But the one thing I did find interesting about this was the idea that maybe, I thought this scene was really cool, hold on, let me show you. This scene was really cool. So you looked at the building, and all of the heaven buildings were built within, surrounding, or attached to the buildings that we've built. which I thought was kind of cool. I don't know why that car's crashed and is spinning and stuff. And the military were after them at some point, of course, because when are the military not after you in a movie like this? Of course, there's so many big names in this movie. But it was a really cool idea. And the thing that I really liked about it was it made me think, well, what if there are, you know how they say, oh, there are aliens out there, is there other life out there? I like the idea that maybe there are other beings living on the planet with us right now, but we can't see them and they can't see us, or if they can see us, they don't care because they don't need to interact with us. They live in another kind of dimension that we can't mess with them. So they're happy to just build and live. Like, I remember I read this horror story, and then the horror story was about another family. It wasn't based on that movie. You're going to think of the movie, I can't remember the name of it, but you'll know it, the Nicole Kidman one, where there's another family that lives in the same house as you, but you don't know. It was a horror story based on that. And there was just this person that kept walking around, and every now and then the person that lived there would see them. Maybe it was the Nicole Kidman movie, I don't know. But the idea of someone living in your house with you, but in another dimension, is crazy to me. Because first of all, how come they're not paying rent as well? Why aren't they paying your mortgage? Because they don't have money in their dimension. They leech off us. But the idea of that is real interesting and real cool. I need to find some more Carl Sagan stuff. I wonder if I could just watch an episode here or there. I'm imagining there's some kind of copyright flagging system on YouTube that would stop me from doing that. But if we're pausing it and we're talking about it, maybe we could get away with it. We'll maybe try that in the future. But Carl Sagan, fifth dimensional beings, fourth dimensional, whatever the dimensions are supposed to be for this one, I think it's fourth. It's super interesting, man. I can't wait to watch more of this. Like and subscribe. Thank you.